Hey Gretchen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good.
So, Pod has been at the International Functional Fitness Federation World Championships, so you might have seen some of our content. And we've gone around the vendor village, and tomorrow we'll be chatting to a load more athletes. But before the entire weekend kicks off, we thought it was really important to chat to the guys who are behind the event about what their visions are for the future of this sport. And Gretchen is at the forefront of it all. So can you just give us a little insight into your background and how this entire concept was formed?
Sure, yeah. So I was a gymnast growing up, so I have a little experience in kind of sports governance, just knowing how it works from that. And I'm also an attorney, so that kind of works well as well. It's been about 2 years now. So 2 years ago, I sort of thought, you know what? I always really believe these athletes deserve to be at the Olympic Games. They're just as good, as some of the athletes that are there, just as talented. So, and I really thought the sport needed a legitimate governance. So I decided, let's give this a shot. Incorporated the International Functional Fitness Federation. And it took about a year to kind of assemble the team and find the right people to help bring it to life. So we did kind of a year of legwork. And then in June of 2017, we launched publicly, and we told everyone, hey, we're here, and this is our goal. We're going to create a sports governance structure for competitive functional fitness. And our goal is to get recognized by the International Olympic Committee and then hopefully get into the Olympic Games. Now, a year later, we've got 25 national federations, so 3 times as big practically, and we're here for our second Worlds, and it's been amazing.
So it was initially just you who started the concept. How did you go about picking the kind of people you wanted on that journey with you?
So it was really, just me when I started, and I kind of told myself, all right, you have to do one thing every day that moves the organization forward, whether that's calling someone and asking them to be a part of it, whether it's sending an email, whether it's research or whatever. So, I started reaching out to people kind of who I knew, in the community, who I thought were good people and passionate about the sport and understood the competitive side of it. And, a lot of people, no one told me it was a bad idea. Some people, were saying, some people, they either didn't have time to be involved or whatever, but no one said, I think this is stupid. Everyone said it was a good idea. So either I have a lot of friends that lie to me, or I was like, well, maybe we're on to something. But yeah, so that's kind of how I found people, just through my networks. And then from that, right, like I would call someone I knew and they would say, you should talk to so-and-so. So then I would call that person and, they'd say, oh, we should talk to so-and-so. And that's just kind of how it spread. And we got this core group together who was, yeah, let's do it. And that was kind of it.
So that first San Francisco World Championships, how have you seen the development over the course of the year between then and now? Because it feels like this has taken on a whole new level of importance in the scene of functional fitness.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just grown a ton. I think it's just a matter of time, right? We only had 4 months before that first World Championship, so it was just like, we got to get it done. We got to, check the box and have it there, have some countries there, and now we've had a year to develop. So the big thing is, our national federations have had time to develop. Right now they're running their own national championships. They have their own committees and their own governance structure, and they've got incredible leaders there at the national level. So they're stronger, right, in their governance, and that makes us stronger. So then we're able to expand, and, anyone who was at Worlds last year can see, wow, this is a lot bigger. And it's just, the passion that's come from the national federations. I think that's allowed us to grow this quickly.
So right now, where is the funding coming from?
So right now, majorly from sponsors. We don't charge right now the national federations a membership fee because they are just getting started, right? So down the road, will that be something we do? Probably. But right now, they need all their revenue. We're not charging the athletes to attend the event, right? It's not about making money for us. So we do heavily rely on sponsors and donors. Potentially down the road, there's maybe a chance for funding through the IOC, but we're talking years away, right? So right now it's very much sponsor-based. But yeah, and we do a lot with a very little budget. Like, we have a very small budget. None of the iF3 staff is paid. Everybody's volunteering their time. right? The only people who ever, see money out of it are we pay our technical officials, not a lot, but a little bit for their time if they've met certain requirements in education. And, we do have some prize money for the athletes. So it's really a total nonprofit effort where we're like, all right, the money goes into the sport. It goes to the people doing the hard work, those technical officials, and to the athletes. Like, that's very important to us.
So how many obstacles have you had to face because of this worldwide knowledge or lack of knowledge about the difference between perhaps what CrossFit is versus what the sport of functional fitness is? Because they're one and the same to a lot of people.
Yeah. There is a lack of knowledge, I think, or I just don't think it's been explained to people. And I think that's really what it is. Nobody has explained it before. So we just try to do a lot of education in that way, and try and explain to people, look, we're not competing with CrossFit. Our objectives are totally different, right? They have, their objective is not to grow the sport. We're not trying to create some commercial enterprise and make money off this. Like, we're about creating rules and standards and, like, protecting athletes' rights. Like, that's where we fall, and it's not a commercial enterprise. So getting people to understand that difference is just a matter of explaining it, I think, and getting the word out.
And what's the involvement from a community level, especially from someone like yourselves who are the top of the tree? We recently did a podcast with Harry Thompson of Fitness Racing Federation, the UK national head, and the big focus of what their plan was to have a real impact on the community. But how does that filter down from the top level?
Yeah, so the big thing that was important to us was really to build the sport from the community. Like, all of our federation leaders are involved in the sport in some way, whether they do the sport or they own a gym or that they compete or whatever it is. We're building it from there. We're not looking for people who are trying to be build their careers in sports governance because they think it's prestigious or they want to make money or anything like that. We're looking for people who genuinely care about the sport because they participate in it, because they do it, and they understand what aspects of the sport are important, where we can improve, what's already great about it. Because there are people who are out there just trying to make careers in sports governance. And, like, those aren't the people we're looking for. This is not about, trying to somehow win fame or fortune through the IOC, right? This is about doing something good for the community and something good for the sport. And those, if you don't feel that, like, you'll stick out like a sore thumb pretty sorely in our organization and even within all our national federations. So those people don't last long. But we have a phenomenal group of national federation leaders and iF3, within our organization that really just genuinely are doing this because they love it so much. So it's awesome.
I noticed earlier as well you had a schools community kind of section to the day. It's quite a quieter day for the athletes, so you've opened up your doors to get kids into fitness. How important is that you're getting kids active at a young age?
Yeah, super important. And it was so great, to not just come here and just do an event and leave, right? To come and give back to the community in some way. And, Tom Hayworth was just amazing in organizing that event and getting those kids here. But yeah, exposing the kids at a young age to functional fitness because it is a great thing to do for your lifetime. So that's really important. And also, our plan and our initiative that we launched the other day, our Reach for the Rings initiative, it's a 10-year plan, right? So we're looking at being in the Olympic Games in 10 years. Those kids who are young today, those are the kids who are going to be ready to be Olympians in 10 years. So you have to start introducing the sport to those kids and doing it in a safe way. So we have a youth committee that we've developed who's working right now to figure out what should competition look like and what should training look like at each age group, in each age bracket, right? Because what a 7-year-old doesn't need to look like what a 10-year-old does, and it definitely shouldn't look like what a 15-year-old does. So our youth committee is kind of working on to create a structure, and it probably will be something that people will look at and be like, oh, well, that's a little different. But right now, there is no structure for those age groups in terms of the competitive scene. So that's something we're working on as well to try to figure out how does this long-term development of the athlete look so that they can participate in the sport all the way through the age groups and not be broken, right, by the time they're 19 years old. So we're taking, a lot of time to look at that. And right now today, Tom said it best. He told me, today there's no winners, no losers, no medals, just movement and fun for the kids, right? And that's what they were doing, right? We had 100 or so school kids in here, and they were yelling and screaming and laughing and just moving, right? So it was pretty awesome.
It was announced a day ago, where the next location of the Functional Fitness Federation World Championship is going to be held, and that's Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Why Sweden?
So what we actually did is we have a bid process. So any country of our national federations who is interested can submit a bid and say, we would like to host in, this 2019. And we had 4 countries submit bids. So we had a committee that was, our world selection committee, and they created a grading matrix. So there were different qualities, location and technical officials, experience, different things that they were graded on. And it turned out we actually ended up, the first round of grading, we ended up in a tie between Egypt and Sweden. So they had to do a tiebreaker round, and then in the tiebreaker vote, Sweden won. So we ended up in Sweden. So it's very democratic. Everything we do is, very democratic. We like to be transparent about how and why we're making decisions and be able to back it up. So it's nice to be able to say, yeah, we picked Sweden, and this is exactly how we did it. And there was a point system, and there was a committee, and they won fair and square. So that's really how it happened.
And as part of this week as a whole, in the run-up to the weekend, you've been holding committees with the heads of all the other federations.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had our annual Congress meeting. We split it into 2 days this year.
People are not getting the camera bit.
So we started on Wednesday. All the national federation heads come. And the first day we talked a lot about the iF3 vision, where we want to go, how we're going to get there, and what we're planning to do. And then some of our internal committees, our technical official committees, our programming committee, they gave updates on what they've been doing internally. So that was kind of day 1. And then day 2 was more discussion-based. So we did a panel discussion about how to build a strong national federation. So we had a couple of our stronger federations up there as sort of leaders, and we asked them questions, and everyone could ask them questions, and talked about how could you make your federation better, what things are you doing, and it was a very dynamic conversation. We talked about the direction of the sport, do people want to see masters competitions? Would you bring athletes if we introduce youth competitions in 2019, right? How can we communicate better with our national federations? Just a lot of things on how we can improve, how we can grow. It's just a great time. The point of this is for the national federations to have a chance to be a part of developing the sport.
I know obviously the plan is in 10 years to be pushing for an Olympics place, but what's the kind of the more current plan on how to grow this federation?
So the big thing right now, a couple things. In terms of the Olympic pathway and recognition, the first thing we have to do is get recognized by an organization called GAIF. So that is kind of our first step. So we're working on our application and trying to fulfill the requirements you need to be able to get into GAIF. So there are still some check boxes we have to hit before we make those. So we're trying to working towards hitting those requirements, right? Holding a certain number of world championships, having a certain number of national federations, having a certain number of Congress meetings. They want to see that we're doing all the right things. So that's kind of what we're working towards. We look at those objectives. And then there are just, little things we need to keep doing to get better, working in our internal communication, trying to communicate better and give, help our national federations more. But really a lot of it stems from growing the national federations. The stronger they are, the stronger we can be. So those are kind of the direction we're going.
It all sounds really exciting and definitely one that people should be keeping an eye on. If anyone who sees this wants to find out more information, where should they be looking?
So we have a website, functionalfitnessfederation.org. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so you can look up International Functional Fitness Federation on Facebook and at International Functional Fitness on Instagram. We also have a Twitter that we barely use. So
it's actually the story of everybody. We have Twitter, but we don't use it.
Yeah. So there's not really much on our Twitter, so come to Instagram instead. But and reach out to us through there, through the website or Instagram or Facebook. We're fairly responsive. If you reach out right now this weekend, probably not as responsive.
There's a lot going on if you can't hear all the competition going on around us.
But generally, we're pretty good at getting back to people. We try to be. So, yeah, and we'd love to hear from people who are interested in starting national federations, people who want to help out with really anything.